So the city council meeting being conducted in a hybrid format. This format allows the public to view and participate in the meeting through Zoom in addition to attending the meeting in person. As a result, in order to conduct the meeting in an orderly manner, certain protocols are to be followed. First, the host will keep all Zoom participants muted until public comment is requested or any public hearing is opened. The council will first solicit comment from those attending the meeting in person. At the appropriate time, the mayor or host will specifically solicit questions or comments from the Zoom participants, and so please hold your questions and comments until they are requested. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand virtually. The mayor or host will individually recognize those wishing to speak and will invite you to speak and unmute your microphone. If you are not being recognized, provide an obvious visual indicator such as raising your hand or waving to the camera. Your microphone will be remuted after you have spoken. So, how to raise your hand on a PC. So if you go down to the bottom of tools while you're in Zoom, there will be a button that is identified as reactions. If you press that, it will pull up a little window which has a raise your hand option that will show up, and it will allow the host or the mayor to identify that somebody in the audience would like to speak. If you're on a tablet or a phone, you would go to the lower right hand corner of your screen. There's 3 little dots that says more. If you tap that, it will bring up a small menu, and again you would push the raise your hand button. If you're participating in Zoom by calling in, you need to press *9 on your phone. That will notify us that your telephone number has raised their hand. Staff or the mayor will call on individual telephone numbers and ask you to address the city council. After the council has heard from all participants online that wish to speak, the mayor will then go and ask for phone. So those are the protocols for the meeting.
Thank you, Tom. All right, with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Any motions?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Josh, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is adopted. We have no presentations, proclamations, or acknowledgements, so we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here who'd care to speak under public comment tonight? The floor is yours.
All right, thanks. I got notes because I'm not a gifted public speaker.
No worries.
I'm Bob Hickey. This is my wife, Carla. Thank you for allowing us to come here tonight and talk to you. It'll only be about 3 or 4 minutes. We're here to make a request. Well, first let me say we've lived on Geneway for 5.5 years, and we're going to be living here for 20, 30, however many years we're allowed to live here. Josh was kind enough to meet with us a couple weeks ago, and we've been talking to him about asking or making a request to lower the cost of the water bill for seniors from 65 to 62. Josh did some preliminary looking into it, and it appears that the 65 current age was not arbitrary, but he couldn't find any reasoning specifically why it was that way. Our water, sewer, and light bill is our highest utility bill, and we appreciate why it is that high, but it's our highest utility bill by $20 or $30. Our utility bill is somewhere between $95 and $110. It's just the 2 of us. We don't have sprinklers, so we use very little water. So we're just asking if you would at least consider lowering the age to 62. It would make it a little bit easier for us, especially, and that 60 or $20 or $30 difference is as other utilities have gone up. Our gas and our electric have both gone up, and our water is still our highest utility bill. And that's all we wanted to say.
You're retired?
Yeah, we're retirees, so I didn't want to get into why, but I'm not I'm in the 62 to 65 age range. there's family history of health. There are reasons that we retired early, or I retired early. And it's just quality of life. And, you know, we are not rich people, but we have a comfortable life, but we are by no means rich. So Josh Josh said he thought lowering this would only impact a few dozen homeowners, and he said that's if they all signed up for it, so.
And I think that's probably what we need to just do a quick cost analysis of and see what we'd be looking at. But is anyone opposed to having that discussion and having it on a future meeting item?
Okay.
Yep,
Any
we're on it.
questions for us? Okay,
No?
all right,
Thank you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is that something we can,
Yep.
you can put on the?
We obviously are aware of this issue, as Josh brought it up, so what we would plan to do is come back, revisit why we chose the age 65. And then we'd also take a look at the level of participation that we have, which I should let the council know is much, much higher than we had anticipated and blows away any other community that has a similar program that we researched. And then use that same level, participation and apply it to what we would estimate the additional eligible applicants. And it's a little bit of a swag, but we did that last time as well. And then, like you indicated, a cost estimate of what the impact would be, and then you guys can simply provide direction.
I think before the end of the year, that's something staff would have time to put on. We
I'll
probably
need to
would have
check
2
with,
minutes left.
I'll need to check with Steph. She'll be doing the majority of the work on this
Okay.
particular item, with some assistance from, community development for some of the demographic data we
Okay.
would need.
Keep us posted. Thank you. Commissioner?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, good to see you. Tom Wolf, Scott County Commissioner, just a couple things tonight. I don't know if anyone's got their assessments or their tax statements yet. They came in, because the price of houses went up in the last couple of years, your values went up. I don't know if taxes went up on them yet. I haven't gotten mine, so I don't know what's, they went up. I'm sure they've gone up. They just never go down. So, anyhow, if you think your house is overvalued, overassessed, there's a number of the assessor on there. Call them up and ask them, you know, maybe you can dispute it, so. Then we have a new commissioner that's gonna be on board next January, Jody Brennan, won her race against Mike Luce. So Mike Beard he's getting off, and so, you know, I think it'll be a good thing, have new people there, so. And then on Tuesday, we had quite a lengthy hearing on the Ren Fest and all the traffic and what they can do. So we're hoping they can do buses or something, but there's just a lot of traffic that comes in 2 hours and it gets clogged up, and there's a lot of turns, and there's a lot of divots in the roads and stuff in the parking lot, and people don't want to go, you know, over 5 miles an hour with their nice car, and I probably wouldn't either. So anyhow, that's what's going on at the county. You got any questions? Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Anyone else? Patrick, you got anything? No? All right, with that, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to consent. Anyone have any items they would like pulled or have a quick question on? Otherwise, motions?
Motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
Motion by Josh, second by Bryce, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda passes. We do have a public hearing tonight. Do I need a motion to open a public hearing, or do I just open it?
You can just simply open it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:10. Anyone here to talk about the public hearing? We're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:10. And we'll move on to general business.
Oh, there's an action item associated with that, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I thought that was under general business.
No.
Oh, okay.
Make a motion to approve the attached amendments to section 4 of the policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now for real, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll move to general business.
Only item under general business tonight is the council considering an interim ordinance prohibiting the manufacture, testing, distribution, and sale of cannabinoids. This has been an item that has been continued a few times previously. The council last had continued the consideration of that to this meeting. We're looking for action on this particular item.
So we probably don't need any presentations or anything at this point.
Staff wasn't planning to.
Andrea, how long realistically do you think like by our next meeting we'll have a draft of the licensing?
Yes, I think you could have a draft by the next meeting, so the only question is if you review it, you have more changes, and you have to bring it back to another meeting.
Okay. I mean, we could just go right into voting if we want, or we can, does anyone have anything they wanna share on this? I mean, I don't know.
I think it'd be silly to put a moratorium in place for 2 weeks. That's just my opinion, so I will certainly be voting no.
Does anyone wanna make a motion to move this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Bryce. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
A second by Kate. Before we vote, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No?
Nay.
In this case, Mr. Mayor, the motion would fail for lack of a majority.
All right, so the motion fails. All right, we'll move on to reports.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I will share my screen for the projected budget presentation. Give me 1 second.
As you're pulling that up, do we have to do that little dialogue before every meeting now? Because if we do, I made a note that I think I would make a recommendation that staff do a video or something
I've been
with
thinking
some
about,
music, and then we could pre-record it and play it, kind of like a commercial leading up to the council, so
Only if I can pick the song.
I've been
Can't be licensed.
thinking about that.
It'll be an original.
like record something just so it's easier, so you don't have to say it every single time.
I haven't checked, do you have it on your website that's available and how to access and all that good stuff?
It's a
No,
good idea.
we do
And
not.
just reference that.
This is just,
Oh.
this is still a dry run.
Or we could force each department head, each meeting to do it
Thank you.
and rotate it amongst them, and
There's no way I
I'd
could
love
compete
that.
with Brady, yeah, see what I mean?
Brady's will last like 10 minutes.
And these microphones, I'll like beatbox into it and stuff.
We've seen it.
I've demonstrated it, yeah,
I believe that.
into that one there.
And we have some time while Tom's pulling stuff up.
Right, everybody has it? So tonight, we'll be discussing the 2023-2024 projected budgets. The purpose tonight is to review the key assumptions that were used in preparing those projected budgets and review the estimated levies associated with that. So the projected budget is a financial tool based on assumptions regarding service levels, revenues, and expenditures. The intent is to promote council discussion and develop council consensus regarding that future financial plan. It assists in developing longer-term strategies for the implementation of our vision, and it also places current decisions that we're making in a broader context. It also provides staff with direction on the development of future draft budgets as we move forward. So the two-year projected budgets are based on reasonable assumptions regarding revenues, expenditures, and we'll be presenting those assumptions regarding service levels as a starting point for that council discussion. Keep in mind that the projected budgets themselves are not adopted. It's a planning tool. And as a result, by approving or giving direction or support for projected budget, you are not guaranteeing any level of service or action that's identified in those projected budgets. Key assumptions: no COLA increase in 24-25. The bargaining agreement with the 49ers expires in 2023. There's a wage opener for 2023, which we haven't finished negotiating. And the adjustment is unknown, and we don't have a contract for 2024 and 2025, so we've simply been silent on that COLA adjustment. It includes normal employee step increases for those that would be eligible. Payments for the fund of the 318 cash deficit increasing 20,000 per year per the debt structuring we've previously discussed. An additional police officer in 2024, an additional administrative staff position in 2025, and additional debt levy associated with the 2023 equipment purchases, which will be coming issued later next year, and additional debt levy associated with the 2024 road projects that are contained within the CIP. There's also any other debt financing structures that we've previously discussed with council. So when we do this, we're providing an estimation of future levies based on a projected budget. It's using the current tax base and current numbers that we have, so any change in tax base will change these numbers. It does not provide an estimated future tax impact. If we have tax base growth, these numbers could be better. If we have tax base shrinking, it could be worse. It also doesn't take into account things like changes we might have in other revenues, fiscal disparities, LGA, et cetera. So, 2024, the estimated levy assumes a full year of a police officer. The total all-in cost for that officer is $101,000 and would be equivalent to a 3.3 levy increase from the 2023 draft budget. The second half of a year for Planner 1 that is projected to be hired in the 2023 draft budget would result in a $31,000 general fund increase for a 1% levy increase. Reallocation of the public works salary, which we are already implementing in 2023, will result in almost a $24,000 increase or a 0.8% levy increase. Increase in contingency, because we always assume it's going to go up to 3% in those future years. That has an impact on the numbers. Would be a little over $5,000 or a 0.2% levy increase. And then normal general fund operational increases are estimated to be a little over $41,000 or a 1.3% levy increase. And this would include a cumulative effect of several small inflationary adjustments throughout the entire property tax supported portions of the budget. It would also include an increase in capital outlay of $7,000 for a 0.2% levy increase, and an increase in community events of $2,000 or 0.1% levy increase. This does not assume the use of reserves to decrease the levy as we have done in 2023 and in previous years. Increased payments for Fund 318, which is the increase of the $20,000 per year. This would be 0.6% of an impact. For 2025, it would include the additional expense for a full year of an additional administrative staff person that is budgeted to be hired in 2025. It result in a $30,000 or 0.9% levy increase. As you know, most administrative positions are allocated between several funds. This only includes the portion that would be property tax supported. Reallocation of public works salary again, contingency again. We do have elections expense in that year. That is currently estimated to be $12,000. I do think that is a conservative estimate at this time based on the increasing election service demands associated with absentee and early voting. That would be a 0.3% levy increase. And normal general fund operational increases of $25,000 or 0.7% levy increase. And again, increase in capital outlay and the 318 fund.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Yep.
The election stuff, the election expenses is on the 2025 budget, not 24?
That would be correct. It should be on the 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or am I reading it wrong?
No, it should have been on the 24. That's just,
Okay.
That's my error then.
so,
Excited for the, you wanted to kick it out an extra year, huh?
so estimated levy impact, if we take a look at the draft 2023 budget, and this is the updated beyond preliminary, this is the most current version we have. Between 2023 and 2024, we'd be looking at a $290,000 increase or a 3.3% increase. And between 2024 and 2025, we'd be looking at $191,000 or 5.65%. Now, as you're going through, you're going to say, well, we noticed when we add all that stuff up, there's always gives and takes within a budget. So when we're presenting these potential impacts, they're done in isolation. They're not taking into account all of the other gives and takes within the entire budget. So when we really take a look at it, and you will have noticed, and this has been true for several years, the big drivers in the budget and with the tax impact is additional positions within the city and debt service associated with capital projects and purchases. So if we go through and we take a look at these specific items, and this is where if you have specific questions about it, or you want to express feedback on whether it should be included or not in the assumptions, this is the time to do it. So the police officer in 2024, the total all-in cost for an officer is $101,000. It's not just the salary and the benefits, but you also have uniforms, training, everything that goes with supporting that officer completing their duties.
And what is the starting salary for that position then? Like, assuming whatever step and.
For the assumption here, we use step 1,
Yep, grade 11.
grade 11. I cannot give you the specific number right off the top of my head.
Just right at
Ballpark?
ballpark $67,000.
And then the estimated levy impact in isolation is 3.3. The estimated tax impact, if we use our current, so many dollars equals a 1% tax impact for the typical home, is 4.6%. Police officers have the biggest impact of any position that we hire on the tax levy simply because they're entirely allocated to the general fund, whereas nearly every other position in the city is allocated to some degree between multiple funds. Any questions about that? Is it reasonable for us to continue to make this assumption with regards to the projected budgets?
The only thing I was gonna say is does this, I assume this doesn't assume that the wage study
Correct. This is,
changes anything. So this is based on what we know today, not what the wage study may or may not show.
that is correct. This is based on our current salary schedule, current benefit costs, current elements that we know today.
I mean, at this point in time, I mean, we're gonna have so many conversations about that budget. I don't think there's a need to change anything. Does anyone disagree?
And this item was included in the 2024 budget when we did projected budgets last year. So the next item is an additional administrative position. I did bring up the concept last year during this discussion, but did not assign timing or cost to it. The best way to describe this is as we continue to grow, as we continue to have more activity, our bandwidth within the office is becoming stretched and has the potential by the time we get to 2025 to be extremely stretched. We cannot at this time identify exactly what that position would look like, so we made some reasonable assumptions related to grade and allocation based on other positions within the various funds. So the total cost, including salary and benefits for that position at this time, would be estimated to be about $77,000 with a levy impact of 1.6% and a tax impact for the typical home of 1.4%. But this position, like most of our other administrative positions or the front half of the office, would be allocated between the general fund, water fund, sewer fund, stormwater fund, based on duties that the position is likely to be engaged in.
Same as the last comment at this point. I don't know that we need to, it's kind of like starting the toy box discussion really early.
It kinda is, but we are close to Christmas.
True.
So at this point, those are really the big ticket items. Everything else related to debt, a lot of those other items are items that the council's already made a decision on and are kind of baked into the cake already. So at this point, we're looking for council direction, which I think we've already received. And are there any other changes on the projected budgets that you noticed that you have questions on or would like to direct any changes to?
I think you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Anything for Public Works to pass on?
No.
Police Department?
Good evening, council. Just a couple of things take note of. If you notice, you walk by the bins today, we collaborated with the New Prague School District, specifically Eagle View, collecting candy for the Ronald McDonald House in Minneapolis. Was talking with staff over there, we decided to partner. They have a huge need for candy for the patients and family going through cancer and other treatments, and it's a luxury that they don't always get. So we're very excited to help with that. I saw what the school collected with all the kids and families turning in their unwanted Halloween candy, and then what we have, it's gotta be close to 100 pounds of candy we're gonna be able to donate. So I'm actually gonna collab with the principal at the school, put him in my squad. We're gonna deliver that candy to the Ronald McDonald House here, and hopefully in the next week or two.
Nice.
Cool.
So, very cool project. I started and I might have mentioned this before, working with the principal as well. Every day there's taped announcements that are delivered to the whole school and staff. And I've started once a week, I deliver the joke of the day for them. With COVID, we have not been able to have the presence at the school that we normally like. We haven't been able to do the lunch with the kids. So there's 2 grades that haven't seen us and don't know us like the others did. So I was there for Veterans Day and was watching the ceremonies and being a presence there. And the number of kids that say, "Hi, Chief Brady, hi, Chief Brady," as they're walking by, they're starting to get that presence of us being there through that announcement. So that's been really fun. And this week coming up on Tuesday, we're starting our first lunch with the Chief program again. So we're gonna have 6 kids, and they each get, just to remind you, a police hat, like a nice one, not the cardboard one, and they actually badges to wear around their neck. And they meet in the office, we go through the lunch line, and they're celebrities, because everybody, you know, it's a special treat for them. And then we have lunch with them at a special table right in front of the office. So we're starting that up on Tuesday. I'm excited about that. And then this year, also really excited to announce Shop with the Heroes, which is different than Shop with a Cop. I felt that it would be more community involvement if we teamed up with the fire department to do the shop. So it's Shop with a Hero this year. So I've been working with Jody at the fire department, and we're identifying families right now of need. We're hoping to get 3 to 4 families, and Walmart is donating the space and all the supplies for wrapping the gifts. I'm very happy to announce Molly Mahawald, however you say that name, I've heard it 3 different ways. Their family, through their fundraising efforts, have donated $500 to our cause. And then I'd really like to call out the Elko Speedway that has donated $1,000 to the program, which is amazing. And to also announce a collab with the Chamber of Commerce, who is working to set up donation buckets, and they're out, I believe.
They are not out yet. We're waiting
Okay.
for the new sticker, because it
Okay.
still says Shop with a Cop, and we're waiting for the Shop with the Hero sticker to come in.
All right, so those
They will
buckets
be
will be out at Fish Rock, all the restaurants, coffee shops, and collecting and donating money. So you can donate at Firehouse or any of those other locations where the buckets are there. And that will be, we still haven't nailed down a date, but we're thinking December 12th will be our date for that at the Lakeville Walmart, which has been an awesome partnership. We are in the hiring process, as you know. Unless Linda looks up and says something different, we're at 3 applications have come in for that. We still have a week left. We're hoping for more. This week, I haven't been around in the city, if you've noticed. I've been at training in Eden Prairie, which is a FBI LEDA, and there's approximately 50 of us going through a week-long training, leadership training. And the number one concern, much like our local, these are police executives, either sergeants, captains, lieutenants, or chiefs, other chiefs from around the metro area, and actually North Dakota and greater Minnesota. The number one concern is still retention and hiring of police executive, or police officers. So our numbers are not, don't cause me alarm, because it's what everybody's facing. Departments very close to us have opened up and gotten 0 applications. So the paradigm for hiring police officers has completely shifted. It was very interesting to get the national perspective from a police executive who's worked at, been the assistant chief at Chicago PD, Orange County, California, all over the nation, and it's unprecedented what people are facing. and she did a national survey, and the highest hiring bonus she's seen and found is $35,000.
Wow.
In different parts of the country. So, we're in it, we're, trying to deal with it the best we can and navigate it. So, I'm hoping the last process, when we hired Officer Irwin, we only had 4 applications, so it's not necessarily the quantity, it's the quality. And then the last thing, and I'll make it quick here, is we're still planning Officer Irwin's badge pinning and swearing in ceremony. He has a wife that's extremely pregnant and due very soon, so we're trying to, with his 5th child, so we're trying to balance that out. So we haven't forgotten about that. That's very important to us. We're just trying to put it all together. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think I saw Rich joined us.
Yes, Rich will be giving a brief overview of the water appropriation permit process and the rationale behind the permit parameters that we are proposing.
So you have the memo which lays out the 4 options and the reasons for the permit, but in a nutshell, you're permitted to withdraw from the aquifer 135 million gallons a year. Last year, we pumped 125 million. We're coming up on that again this year. And so regardless of other goings on, you're coming due to basically amend your permit so that you have more room for growth or a super dry year or some other abnormal year. But along with the application we're processing for Project Horseshoe, that would add more than double what you're currently pumping. And so the suggested minimum that we would apply for your amendment is listed, I think it's 365. That would cover the city with about 50% growth and room for, like I said, those unusual years that could come up. And the first phase of the Project Horseshoe project, we could ask for more, but we think it's best to take a stepped approach where you only seek appropriation for known needs. And at this point, we don't know the timing of, for example, if there's a phase 2, when would that happen? Growth, this will cover you for a while, so we think this is the more appropriate approach. If you have to drill any wells, which we are planning to allow continued growth, that would require an appropriation of permit amendment anyway, so we would be revisiting this in perhaps a year or 2. So we think the lowest needed amount is what we should be seeking at this time, and that's the recommendation accordingly.
Any thoughts?
Just a question, how quickly, if we needed to add on more in the future, or do an amendment for anything, how quick of a turnaround? I mean, we wouldn't run into any concerns about not being able to pull.
Our understanding, it's about a 60-day process. It would not be the limiting factor for it. We would have to go through any, plan reviews and stuff like that first. So we would know well enough in advance to handle that.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, if we're gonna be getting into those types of numbers for daily pumping, we're gonna be looking at doing other items such as putting a well in, which will trigger discussions and take much longer than the appropriation permit process.
Any other thoughts or questions?
The only other thing I would say, and I'm not saying it's the right way or the appropriate thing to make a decision based on, but how often do we want to face the political ramifications for making decisions like this?
As often as possible.
No, it's,
I mean, my personal thought on that is we'll pursue what we need to pursue, and I'm not really worried about political brushback, but that may, anyone feel differently?
no.
All right. Okay. Anything else, Rich?
I have nothing else. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight.
No, you sound busy, so thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, okay, take care.
Yep. Community development.
The only thing that I have to discuss, and there was a memo in your packet regarding the Pete's Hill letter of credit. Pete's Hill is a development that was constructed a few years back. The city council accepted the improvements within that development in June of 2022. There's a one-year warranty period, so the warranty period will expire June 23rd, 2023. Typically, there are financial securities that the city maintains during that warranty period. Many times it's a warranty bond. This developer and our contractor did not submit a warranty bond. So in lieu of that, we kept a letter of credit in place. We were notified recently by the lender that holds the letter of credit that they are not going to renew the letter, that it will expire on November 30th. So that leaves us with about a 7-month period without any warranties in place unless we draw on the letter of credit. So we did notify the developer of our intent to draw, but so that would be approximately $660,000. We wanted the city council to be aware of that and discuss it before we made that draw.
Any thoughts? I would support drawing on the letter of credit. Anyone feel differently?
Just, the only thing to add is that, the improvements in the development have been in place for a period of time. We're not seeing any warranty issues, but it would be within the contract to draw on it.
I mean, is there like a request for us to not draw on it, or is there some concern that was expressed that we shouldn't follow through on what we would typically do?
The developer has not specifically made that request. I've been in communications with Steve Salto of the development company. He said he's been trying to work with the contractor to provide the warranty bond diligently. I believe I saw email correspondence between him and the contractor. But if it doesn't come, we need to be prepared to draw on it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And just for us not as smart people, when we draw on that, then obviously, if it's not needed, then what? Like if no warranty work is needed to be done, everything goes fine until June or July of next summer.
We would hold the dollars in escrow and we'd return the unused funds.
All right.
It's unusual to draw on a letter of credit. It's very detrimental for their financing for other projects, so it is very unusual.
Is it possible to lower the amount that we're drawing? Since there's only a little less than a year left, right? Goes till next June, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, technically, there's a couple ways to handle it. Andrea can speak to it probably better. It's to amend the development contract, to amend the terms of either the warranty period or the financial securities that are required.
But we won't have a meeting
We won't have
before.
a meeting before that date.
But if we had direction on a lower amount, we would then draw only up to the amount directed by council, and then we can amend the agreement accordingly after the fact.
Okay, so when you draw on a letter of credit, typically it just kicks in a loan. And who knows how their letter of credit is actually set up, but, I've done a number of letters of credit on my own, and generally there's interest-only payments for a certain period of time that they would have to service. So it's not like again, I'm not familiar with this particular situation, but it's not like they would have to come up with $660,000 to repay the bank right away that issued the letter of credit. So while it may be unusual, I don't know that I would want to risk any taxpayer liability on this. And I don't know that it's putting them in a terribly particular, you know what I'm trying to say. A bad situation. I mean, I would give them to the last possible minute to try and come up with a bond, but if we require something and we're not being asked to waive anything, I don't know why we would come out of the gates with that.
But that's what I was just gonna follow. I mean, I would be open to conversations, thinking through various options if it was being requested by the developer. I mean, but it seems odd that we would potentially go down that path first if they're not asking for it. I mean, if they did, I'd be open to understanding why and waiving it or not waiving it or reducing it or whatever, but, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
So if they did request it, let's say in 10 days, you know, we would have to then pull together a special,
We've asked, in our letter to them, our notice,
oh, by
Andrea's,
the 10th or
yeah,
20th, I mean. 10
Andrea's
days,
office prepared the notice.
Yep.
And it said if you don't submit a maintenance or other form of security by the 20th, we'll prepare to draw. So we don't have a lot of time left to
Mhm.
have this discussion. So if there is, as Tom suggested, if there's a suggestion for a direction on a lower amount,
You have to, I don't know that it matters, if you draw on the whole thing, you would send back whatever you don't need for the cost of the maintenance bond or the,
Which is a good point. So if we draw on it and 10 days later they come up with the warranty bond, we would just, at that point, we have what we need, we'd give it back.
Well, and I guess I would just reiterate to them, I mean, if you, I'm speaking for me, I would be open to a conversation if they specifically requested something, so if we needed to tackle it before Sunday, I'd be open to having that discussion before
Yeah.
Sunday.
I would too.
Right.
I mean, I'm getting looks from you, so I wanna make sure we're not putting you in a difficult situation.
no, I think I agree with Andrea. I've never drawn on a letter of credit in the time that I've worked in this type of position. So it's unusual. I guess I'd look for more direction from Andrea.
So would it be more,
And I think the other factor that comes to my mind is that the improvements were really in place for quite some time before they were accepted by the city council. It takes the developer to be diligent, you know, if they would have requested that the city council accept the improvements right away when they were done, we would likely be past the warranty period already. I don't have those dates at my
So is there like a recommendation? Are you recommending that we don't draw on it?
There's an option if the council chose that we could simply waive the the warranty bond requirements based on the amount of time that the infrastructure is in the ground, but that is not, would not be, it would require an amendment to the development agreement. It's not consistent with it. That has not been specifically requested, but it is a reasonable point to make the council aware of. We have made adjustments in the past where developers have not been on top of their game and responsive in getting their stuff done to get infrastructure accepted, and we've made accommodations. But usually that was the result of a request from that
Yeah.
developer.
Without a request, we're
we're doing the job for 'em.
we're creating a problem and then trying to solve it. I mean, we have a letter of credit in place, we should draw on it, and if they didn't, I mean, we notified them that we're gonna do it, so if they didn't want
Okay.
us to, then we're all open to conversations.
Okay, so the direction that I'm hearing is to draw on the letter of credit. If there's some request between now and Sunday from the developer to alter something, which
Well,
I don't anticipate.
we wouldn't be able to hold a meeting anyways because of public notice requirements before Sunday as it is.
Sure.
and
So,
then you've got the holiday next week, so you've never had a 3-day period to get that done.
So I say you just draw on it.
Yeah, there's no problem here that I'm seeing, so.
Okay.
All right. Parks, anything to add? No? Other committee reports, scale, did you get a chance to forward that email out?
I did not.
Okay. There'll be an email coming to you shortly with legislative priorities, and notes from the Scale exec meeting. Scale is tomorrow. I believe it's in person only. And I believe I should actually confirm where it
That's
is.
what the email said, that it's
Said-
moved to in person.
Yeah, but it's at a different location.
It's at the law enforcement, it's at the government center,
Back at the government
It's at the
center.
government
Yep.
center, okay.
just for this time.
Okay. Anything for service delivery?
No, actually, we have not had a service delivery meeting since our last council meeting. I have one on Monday.
Okay. I-35?
Did we skip CCEC?
We totally did.
Jeez.
Sorry. Need to do that?
Just like,
We had our meeting on Tuesday, we just discussed, the Halloween and what went well, what didn't go well, and the tree lighting ceremony that's gonna take place on Saturday, December 3rd, from 6 to 7. All are welcome, yes.
And the council should have the email the mayor referenced in their inboxes right now.
Okay. I-35?
We had a good meeting, last week. It was brought up by Commissioner Wolf and myself about the County Road 2 interchange again, because we talked about our priorities for 2023. And, it was a little bit of a back and forth in the meeting, but we highly suggested that the Alliance, listen to a presentation from the city, regarding the interchange and some of the changes that have gone on there. There's a lot of pushback on us even being able to present.
Really?
There was, and it was quite ridiculous, but, at the end of the day, they agreed to have us come to the February meeting. And
What
so,
was the reason for pushback?
they argued, or a few people argued, the fact that the project was not on the priority list, it was only on the supported list. And that if we start allowing presentations on every project on the supported list, that it's gonna become an issue for the committee or the alliance itself.
We have historically, in nearly every project that's identified, we have seen a presentation at some point historically at the associations is probably the one that they haven't.
Yeah, and their point is that we haven't heard any presentations on other supported projects, and they don't wanna get down a slippery slope of having all these presentations on these different supported projects, but our point is that there's moving parts that make this more of a priority maybe than it was in the past. And so that should at least garner some attention to be able to say, here's why we want this to be on your radar. And so February it is for you guys to come in and give the pitch.
So did Commissioner Wolf talk with you about ahead of time, or did it come up organically, or did he come in with a plan?
No, it came up organically. So we had the 2023 priority in front of us, what we're gonna focus on for 2023 as the Alliance. And it listed the priority projects on there, which I think there's 4 or 5 on there. And Commissioner Wolf had just mentioned, can we just have a little bit of an asterisk on that priority list that names County Road 2? And so that's when we started having the discussion about it. You know, I talked about the proposed project that's looking to come out there and the public hearings that are coming up on that. And a little bit about what we're seeing or what anticipated traffic and some of the issues that we're seeing out there now. And so it was just kind of one of those things where we said, hey, we want at least 15 to 20 minutes of your time. We're not looking at, spending a whole entire meeting on this topic, but you guys should be at least aware of why we're requesting this to be a more serious topic, so.
For what it's worth, it was included in the legislative priorities for scale two for bonding.
Yeah, and that's something that Commissioner Wolf had brought up, that, there's gonna be several entities involved when it comes to the funding of it. And so we, in order to garner more support from the Alliance, it would be nice for them to have more context of why we're asking what we're asking. So, the pushback was
from who?
from only a couple of different members.
Is it in the meeting minutes?
I was curious as to,
Who?
also
Call him
curious
out.
as to who.
It's a Dakota County Commissioner.
Which one? There's 2,
Um,
typically, aren't there, on there?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There is two. Mary Liz.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
She had a very strong opposition.
I am.
what's going on here.
I am. Not Josh,
She had very strong opposition to it, for the reasons that I had already mentioned. So I think it's an opportunity for us to come and present everything that's occurring out there and why it's important. And I also mentioned to them, which they highly disagreed and think that I was crazy, but the fact that we're getting a lot of traffic from Lakeville, from FedEx and Amazon and some of that trucking.
We get a lot of truck traffic that comes
And
down
they said,
Dodge.
why don't they take County Road 70? And I said, I don't know why they take County Road 70, but they're taking Dodd to come across too. And I said, that's how they're getting on the interstate, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. But, you know, so there's extra traffic coming from Lakeville too. So I said, if you're looking at us as the southern border and no, you guys never come down here and you never see this, I'm telling you that traffic from Lakeville is also impacting
So
that interchange as well.
here's a question I have for council. We've had some discussions, as you know, about telling the story. And one of the things is identifying a travel shed of who actually uses that interchange. And we've had some discussions with Bolton and Mink about using stoplight, which is one of these things that uses GPS phone data that in a generalized fashion to pull where people are going from. There would be an expense to doing that. Is that something at this point it's worth making an investment in to see if it helps us make an argument related to the travel shed that's served, which we
Depending on the
believe would
cost.
include 4 counties
Right.
Yeah, depending on the cost, I think.
and 2 MnDOT districts, so.
I mean, what I think we face a huge battle being on the border of 2 different districts within MnDOT and where we fall with all of that. And I think the more data that we can provide,
We've
the
been-
better.
We've been told in the past that if we were in
The
the
South
MnDOT
District,
district, the
yeah.
South District, just
Oh,
a mile south of here, we would have had an interchange a long time
Right.
ago.
I mean, the amount of improvements that are happening in that South District, I mean, I drive that area a lot, is unbelievable. The projects that are happening on Highway 52 and everywhere else in the south, and, you know, we're stuck with the archaic bridge and being in the southern part of the Metro District is, and so whatever we can provide them that says this is needed, the better.
Good to know.
When is this meeting? Should we, plan for all of us to show up? I wanna go,
I'll
that'd be
be there.
fun.
I'll be
February.
honest, this is in a way lobbying, even
Yeah,
though it's
oh, yeah.
within an association we have. It might not be a bad idea to have the
More
entire,
the merrier.
have the entire council there. We can post it.
Will you let us know the date?
And you can look
Yeah.
and see what an awesome job Renee is gonna do in that presentation.
It's February 9th.
And they have good donuts. So they
Seven-
used to have good donuts.
I've heard
Seven
stories about that.
7:30 a.m. it starts, Richfield City Hall on February 9th. Oh yeah, it's an early morning meeting.
Be fighting
I
traffic.
have to leave here nice and early to get there.
Discussion by council. I do have one quick thing to say unless, if anyone else has
I
something.
have a quick one too.
Go ahead.
You wanna go? There we go. I just wanna throw out, so I posted something on LinkedIn after the election, that's actually gotten some cool traction, so, or traction. So I'm trying to reach out to and connect with elected officials across the state in a variety of different things, so city councils obviously, but school boards and county commissioners and township boards and whatnot, to see if there's others that are in the social services, human services, disability services field, or whatever you wanna call it, industry, to see if we can start, working together and trying to do some grassroots thing. I mean, educate our state, educate the feds, but do it just in a different way, from us at various perspectives at the local government level, what we see works, and then within our industry, so. I've gotten quite a few folks from rural Minnesota, nurses that are on school boards and assisted living directors that are on city councils or whatnot, so, getting that out there, seeing if it goes anywhere, I don't know if it will or not, but, Corey Heppola, who ran as an independent for governor, he's interested, so we've been chatting, and then I'm meeting with a few of the commissioners of health and human services, just to kinda talk to them about it a bit, so, we'll see if it goes anywhere.
All I have to say is I wanted to congratulate Josh and Kate, and I'll pat myself on the back for winning re-election, but really I'm so excited to have the same council that we've had, and it's really an honor to work with each of you, and even and non-electeds as well. We have a terrific staff, and I'm just excited to be part of it for another 2 years, so. all I
I
got.
question our ballot counter because every freaking time you beat me by like 100 points. I was even on the top of the ticket. People literally had to skip over me to vote for you. Like, I don't understand what I was doing, you know? Literally had to skip over
It's the
me.
gray hair.
Right, or something.
With that, any motions for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Bryce, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Means adjourned. Thank you, everybody.